Hey guys, it's me, Emerson World of Elements, and back after God knows how long. But be assured, it was totally worth the wait, cause for this video, I have the most amazingest mind-boggling gobbling idea. Doing MSM ranking video. I'm sure it's an idea that no one has ever tried. Anyway, let's get to the series. Yeah, you heard me right. I said series. Cause I will be ranking each island's monsters separately, and then using the average score to determine who's the actual best MSM monster in history. You might ask,
Why not make a video ranking them all at once?
that's also a good question. There are two reasons. First, I'm not crazy. I have a life. And second, cause monsters can play in different qualities in different islands. I'm looking at you, Gold Island Dandido. As if this video is not long enough, let's make it longer by telling the rules of this series. First, no rares or epics will be ranked, except rare and epic Wubboxes, of course. Sorry to your epic Entbrat fans. Second, there are actually no other rules. Yeah, it's a bit awkward. Anyway, let's start this series with the very first island that was released. Plant Island. With Noggin, I would say it is a very average monster, but its Plant Island track is definitely one of his most remembered sounds, but I believe it's one of his most decent tracks too. Yeah, it acts as a backbone beat of the song, but when you eventually get more monsters, it will just get heavily overshadowed. Isn't it weird that the cold elemental is the most associated monster with the plant island? But it makes absolute sense when you hear its sound. It's just gorgeous. How can a vocal have this much bass and deep feeling into it? Starting the song with Mammott after Noggin was a brilliant choice to keep the gamers wanting more after this great performance. I can't rank it anywhere other than great. Plant Island has one of the best pacing with its monsters unlocking. Adding a freaking duet right at the beginning of the game, it gave us the most iconic duet of all time. Also, sadly, Toy Jammer isn't as good as Mammott, but it still does a good delivery. Drumpler has the same issue as Noggin. He just repeats the simple drum pattern throughout the most of the song, but he just makes it slightly less repetitive. But it doesn't mean it will go anywhere other than decent. Fwog has proved itself to be more than just a transition monster, by leading in some verses in other islands, including Air, Cold, and Cave Islands. But it is still mostly used as a transition between verses. There's nothing wrong with that, but I can't rank it higher than other monsters with the fact that it adds the least to the song. One of the most underrated monsters of all time. Just look at its Plant Island sound. Usually I'm not a big fan of Maw, but this island is a massive exception to that. I can't describe in words how I feel about it, so I describe it in action by placing it in the great tier. Do you remember that I said Noggin becomes overshadowed? Well, T-Rox is the one doing that. Basically, T-Rox is just following the patterns of Noggin's track, but with added small bits, which is way more interesting than what Noggin offers. So to the good tier it goes. I still don't get what were Big Blue Bubble thinking when deciding the plant element to be the last element unlocked for Plant Island. Anyway, about its quality, I would say it is very average at most. To be honest, there isn't much you can do with Potbelly's sound, but I think its current sound deserves a decent. Okay, the beatboxing monster is here, and I say right now that I am not a fan of Shrubb at all. But to be fair, its Plant Island sound isn't that bad. It actually has two unique tracks, which I appreciate, but I think I have to put it in decent. Oaktopus is one of those monsters that the more you hear it, the more you understand how good it is. It's a miracle how they made the monsters sound old and grumpy and yet playing a heartwarming melody. And it actually works in the song too. You can definitely hear the passion that went for this monster's sound. I will have to give it a grade. Who are we kidding? Of course, the most iconic track in the game has to go to perfect tier. The way Furcorn sounds is just so angelic, but in a monstrous way. Especially that high note that starts in the second time it plays. Nothing else to say. Nothing else needed to be said. Perfect monster. There is always that one person who you always forget that exists. And when you see him, you are like, oh yeah, that exists too. Well, Pummel is that thing. But it's not actually a bad sounding monster either. It's just a subtle drum beat, which adds a small but adequate amount of percussion to the song. Decent. I might be biased on this one, but oh man, every time I hear that cymbal slowly rise and end with that huge splash, I just can't imagine how the song would sound without that. If it was only the small cymbal sounds, it would be much lower. But that cymbal crash really puts it high on the great tier. Well, if it isn't the person who single-handedly carries the whole song. Wait a minute, that was a great time joking about it having 4 arms. Anyway, of course I have to put it in perfect tier. What did you expect me to do with it? The way it does its excellent track in Mammott verse, its epic track at the chorus of the song, and oh my god, that section where it plays with Red Wubbox is just perfect. There is no other word that can describe it other than that. I see what they were trying to do with Entbrat, having a monster that has very bad vocals sing a song, but oh man, it just fits so good in the verse it plays. I think it was a wise choice to let it sing in only a small bit of the song, because of its purposely bad voice. But it fits so well with the ending section that I think it deserves good tier. Finally, the moment has come. It's time to rank Ghazt, MSM community's favorite monster. And I think it's actually very perfect. No wonder why everyone loves Ghazt. It is just a great addition to the song. Also, it has 2 tracks, and oh my god, does that second track deliver. Although not as special as Furcorn and Bowgart, it still deserves to be perfect. Here comes Bush. Not that, the other one. The monster form. Ah, that's perfect. Sugarbush is a very interesting monster, being the result of a collab between MSM and Christian Bush. Usually these sort of things don't end up well, and most likely feel out of place. But the way Sugarbush was handled is so great. He doesn't add too much to the song, just what it needs. And also, I have to mention that amazing vocal at the end. That's a very beautiful touch. You deserve great tier, Sugarbush. Let me be honest with you. I don't care about Punkleton. I didn't even care when its voice was changed in Seasonal Shanty. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate it. I just think it doesn't add much to the song. But at the same time, it doesn't make the song worse by any means. I think decent is the best way to explain it. I think Gijub is a very good monster. It comes when it is needed and ends where it needs to. Also, the melody it plays is actually pretty good and subtle, and doesn't overcrowd the song, just a neat touch. So I believe it can go to good tier. Okay, I know the comments are gonna come and bite my head off. But seriously, Dipsters are not as bad as the community makes them to be. And their Plant Island track is actually a good one too, but it just goes for too long. And it's so freaking loud. Dipsters show that if you have a good track, but keep repeating it for the whole song, it will end up to be just annoying. So it goes in meh territory. I still think adding lyrics to MSM was a bad idea. But who cares about my idea? Except you. Whether or not we agree with them, they are in the game. And I think Tawkerr is one of the best implemented Verdos in the game. Specifically its Plant Island track. It just feels right for the song. And that echo at the end of the song was a great idea. Whatever it does it great. So I think that is the tier it belongs to. Almost everything I mentioned about Tawkerr can be said about Parlsona, but there's one thing that makes it the best Verdo in the game, and that's its track in the rare Wubbox verse of the song, and it's just so amazing that vocal delivery is just so calm and it's just so harmonic. I can't put it in words. Parlsona deserves to be in perfect tier, and no one can change my mind. Some of you might know how I feel about Wubboxes, and how I think they should burn in hell. But Plant Island Wubbox is an exception. I think it is okay, kind of, but it just adds too much to the song and makes it so overcrowded. I know some of you love Wubbox, but I just can't avoid feeling annoyed anytime I hear it. At least it didn't end up in bad tier for now. I always found it weird that Raid Wubbox only played in one verse throughout Plant Island, but now I think it was a good choice, cause it kept that verse unique from other parts, and the track it plays is actually really cool too. I think it deserves a good tier. And finally, the last monster, Plant Epic Wubbox. We've been begging Big Blue Bubble to add Epic Wubbox for years, but when they finally did it, we all were worried it might not be good. But they actually made it sound great! Those wooden percussions, those heavy beats, and on top of all that, a great vocal. It's like if you combine the Wubbox with their Wubbox and get this masterpiece. Yeah, it is not perfect, but I think it's a great addition and must go to great tier. Welcome to the bonus section, where I rank the island itself. After ranking every monster in Plant Island in depth, I think now I have a better understanding of Plant Island. This island is one of the hardest to rank, because many people have nostalgic feelings for it and really love it, because it was the first island they discovered. Even I loved it before, but now, in a song point of view, I think it is not that good. It's actually not even good. The song is good, but the monsters, they make it overcrowded. I mean, an island like Continent or Gold Island or even recently Magical Nexus dealt very well with too many monsters, but Plant Island added everything all at once. And the monsters, some of them play in different chord progressions than they are supposed to do, like Sugarbush or Ghazt. They sound great, but they don't follow the chord progression they are supposed to, and that makes the song sound a bit off at some times and make it even sound more louder than it is. After many thinkings, I finally decided where I want to put Plant Island in. I know it's heartbreaking for some of you, but Plant Island is decent. Thank you for those of you who watched until this point. And don't forget, this ranking was my idea. Your idea may be different than mine, so don't make a huge thing about it, okay? And also, if you want more videos like this, make sure to let me know. Anyway, goodbye and see you later!